Okay, so here we are after I have filed the chamber, hand filed. I start out with using coarse riffler files as needed. This is a set of 3 that I have here. It's a flat, some curve, and a round one. These are all very coarse, so they really take some meat out. I use these by I use the flat one. That's rounded, but the flat one down the middle. I don't use this one too much, but occasionally. And the round one you can kind of stroke like so on the inside. I also use this wide file that helps flatten out the main section better than some of the smaller ones. I do quite a bit of work with this file. You may have to buy an entire set to get one like this, but the riffler file set. But this one I use a lot because it really details down into the corners real nice, and you can use it as an angle. It's very fine. It's hard to find medium grit riffler files. I have coarse and I have fine. At least I call this fine, but they go much finer than this. This is probably an O or double O. These are my real workhorses. These are the yellow tang needle files that are Valtitan. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, or Valtitan, but really hard metal. They don't clog up very much, even though this one has a little bit of clog on it. These are just great for flat surfaces, but these don't come in needle files, so this is what you end up having to use around the walls here. If they do get clogged up, you use a card file, and that can help get off whatever's clogging in there. Sometimes you actually have to resort to I have a pin vise with a needle spring in there, and you can really get in there and do some deeper cleaning on some of these, but that's tedious, so I tend not to do that too much. So you can see, I'll zoom this in a little bit. See how the chamber's starting to look. Okay, now this next step, something I'm going to show you, is a great tool set that I've been using for about the past 4 years. They were given to me by my good friend Laurie Waldron of Law Mouthpieces in the UK, and these are sanding sticks. They're made out of plastic, I think a PVC plastic, and they're really handy. Stuck to them are a couple of they're like double-sided foam used to hang posters. They're called in Europe, they're called sticky fingers. You can't find them in the U.S. I mean, you can find them in like a tape form, but not pre-cut out to these shapes. So this is a 12 millimeter by 25 millimeter, and I use 2 layers on one and a single layer on the others. And I use this allows for more flat sanding, and these will conform more to inner curved side walls. I just redressed these, so they're all fresh, but I use 120 grit, and then I proceed to a 220, and then I can finish up with a 110. And like I said, these are real handy. Before I was using these, I was taking little pieces of sandpaper and wrapping them around files, and trying to get in there, or I was wrapping them around a flexible glue stick. This is handy, but a little more tedious than than using these sticks. So these can even do quite a bit of shaping. So let's see. And you can also reach these in from the other end. Try doing that with wrapping sandpaper around a file. It's just not possible. So this course is 120 grit. I don't think it matters a whole lot if they're clog resistant for brass. I mean, it tends to fall right out of them. Sometimes hard rubber will foul them up, and sometimes metals will wear. But you can get, somewhere between 3 to 5 uses, 5 different mouthpieces often before you have to really change these. Really need to use the curved one more for the side walls. Okay, get some out. If you undercut the window earlier, these are already undercut. You can get under there and sand that. These can reach inside and do the side walls all the way from this end. So you're doing a combination of final shaping as well as trying to get out the scratches from the files. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just, it's not going to sound any different between getting every single scratch out and leaving a few in there, but, if your work looks nice, it is appreciated by most players. Sure, it's more important how it plays than how it looks, but if you're going to be spending money for a reworked mouthpiece, a hand-worked mouthpiece, you can have both. You can have it play well and look nice. It doesn't hurt the way it plays. It may even help it. Okay, next move on to 220. So with this grit, we're not really trying to shape the mouthpiece, or just trying to get the sanding marks out from the 120 grit. So now you're talking cosmetic work. If you're in the middle of this and you see a shape you don't like, you got to back up and, you know, grab one of the other tools. Take some elbow grease, but it's a whole lot harder without these sticks. And this particular plastic is unbreakable, so again, all you need is more sandpaper and more of these sticky fingers. You have a friend for life here. Okay, moving on to the 320 grit. I find there's no real reason to go any finer than that, but it's up to you. You can get down to 400 if you want, 600, but I find you can go right to a final finishing of steel wool after the 320 grit. I use 600 and 400 on the exterior body sometimes, but the you know, from brand to brand, sometimes a 400 grit is equal to about a 320. You know, about a 600 that I have, I only get a few strokes out of that before there's nothing left. Sorry about that. I guess I was out of camera for a while. Let's go back to curved one. Finish up these side walls. Okay, that's pretty good. I might do it a little longer, but you get the idea. Now at this point, I often go to the last step is to finish up with some steel wool. This is 4/0 steel wool. It's the finest you can buy, and I can make a little pad of this, and you can take your finest stick just in case it slips, but use that as a pusher. Okay, you can use this to push around and finish the interior. Okay, and you can also use your pinky, your finger. It's all fair game. get the idea. I'll probably go a little more on this after I stop filming, but get the idea.